I'm hitting the trail. It's time to do some talking. I'm gonna find me a honky-tonk hero with a story to tell. We'll have a chuckle. You never know, you might learn something. I'm hitting the trail. It's time to do some talking. I'm hitting the trail. It's time to do some talking.
You're listening to Tales from the Trail, brought to you by Cowboys and Indians Magazine. Now here's your host, Tyler Gummersall.
All right, on this edition, it's going to get Western with Mr. Corb Lund. If you don't know who Corb is, he is a singer-songwriter from Canada. I would say country and Western, in the truest sense of the words. You could say alt-country as well. But just a great poet. If you don't know his music, go check it out. I'm sure you'll want to after this interview. He's done, very well. He tours all over the country and all over the world, Canada and America. His 2012 release, Cabin Fever, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Canadian Charts, and 3 of his albums are also certified gold, so the guy knows how to make records. He had a record produced by Dave Cobb, Things That Can't Be Undone, back in 2015, which is a great album. And he has a brand new album called Agricultural Tragic coming out around the release of this podcast. Anyways, we got to sit down at the historic Coupland Dancehall before his show, so I really appreciate him and his band taking the time to hang out for a little bit. Without further ado, Mr. Corb Lund. Oh, I inserted a little bit of a clip from his new single halfway through as well, so don't be surprised about that. And stick around. I'll give you links and all that good stuff at the end of the episode, so enjoy. Well, thank you for doing this. It's nice to meet you.
It's you.
Yeah. I guess just to start, talk a little bit about your journey. And
musically?
Yeah, musically, personally.
Okay. I grew up in a Western family in Alberta.
Yeah.
We came from Utah and Nevada originally, and both sides of the family came up to Alberta to homestead and ranch around the turn of the century. And I guess I'm 4th generation on our place up there.
Wow.
It's not as big as it used to be, but
sure.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's near Glacier Park.
Okay.
In Montana, just over the border.
Yeah, just over the border, so right there.
And when I was young, I chased cows and rode steers and bulldogged a little bit in high school and that kind of thing. But then when I was about 15, I got into playing guitar, rock and roll guitar. So I had a rock band for 10 years called the Smalls.
Nice.
And partway through, I was always injecting Western lyrics into the stuff the whole time. And then about halfway through that, I started writing full-on Western music. And when that band retired, I fired it up with a record called $5 Bill, and been going ever since.
Nice.
So my music is kind of it's a weird breed of, it's a blend of Western stuff, because it's what I grew up with, that's the family ancestry, but it's mixed with kind of the I don't know, the abandon and irreverence of indie
rock and roll.
Yeah, you know. So I write a lot about Western themes, but it's not always as, freeze-dried as some of the real old school stuff.
Sure.
My stuff is basically a reflection of my life, which is the experience of having that background and living in the crazy 21st century.
Yeah, which is sometimes hard to reconcile.
Yeah, I don't always write. Sometimes I write retro kind of stuff, but a lot of times it's about modern themes, about what it's like when those two cultures clash.
Yeah, no doubt.
Some of it's fun, some of it's heavy.
Yeah, when it's all poetic. I mean, I think you're an amazing writer that way. One of my favorite songs of yours is S Lazy H, and that's one of the more, not as light.
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
a
happy.
heavy one. That's a risk.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the story of so many ranches, so many families that I know. Is it a true story or an amalgam?
It's an amalgam of a few things. All the details of it, like the brand and the one to fly planes for a living, and the sister that goes east to go to school. That's all stuff from my buddy Scott.
Yeah.
They ranch up in Alberta, and they're fine. They're good, and they're his sister's cool. But that's kind of the framework I built it on. But the part about actually losing big chunks of it because one kid wants the money, I've heard that from a number of people.
A bunch of people, yeah.
So it's true in a sense that it happens all the time, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's hard. It's the catch-22 of like you got to have a bunch of land or ranch.
Yeah,
and make it, but
it's fundamentally I mean, it's all based on cheap land, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it just isn't tenable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you could get out of high school and see the guidance counselor and decide you want to be a rancher, take out a bank loan, buy a bunch of land, and ever get anywhere near paying it off, right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
You either got to inherit it, and then you get the succession problems with chopping it up every generation, right?
Yeah, and you just get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Like in Europe in the old days, the oldest son got everything.
Yeah.
Right, and the second son went to the priesthood, and the third son was out on the streets.
There you go.
But something like that.
Yeah.
But these days it's tougher. I think when it comes down to, I've actually had estate planning people use that song as sort of the introduction to their course.
Right. It's like an amazing depiction of it, and so real. And I think so what do you think in writing? Do you think the personal details, like I heard Jason Isbell talk about how he thinks that like including those very personal details actually make it more accessible to more people in some ways?
Yeah, I think it does, because
yeah.
it piques people's interest.
Yeah.
If you try to be all things to all people, it just gets bland.
Right.
That's what's going on the radio, right?
Sure. Yeah.
No, I think that personal details, and I also think that cultural and regional stuff is important too. Like I'm not trying to pretend I'm from Texas, right? I sing about the Rockies and Alberta and all that, so the American West. But it's like, I think it's important. Like I always use the example of Springsteen writing about growing up in the New Jersey slums, right? Mm-hmm. I know nothing about that, but he did such a good job of telling the story that it becomes universal. Yeah, you can relate to it, and then you find maybe that you have more in common than you think, right? Yeah, with
somebody who
people are people
comes from a different background. Yeah.
I wondered about that at the beginning, like how inside I should be writing this stuff.
Right.
My stuff's pretty inside sometimes.
Yeah.
But it seems to work anyway. Like, and I think about it that in those terms, like, I like. There's some maritime and Celtic music that I like, and I really don't understand all the nautical stuff they're talking about, but I get the gist of it, and it actually interests me. So I figure that's because about half of our audience it's a mix. About half of them are rural Western people, ag people, but the other half are urban people who know nothing about that and Steve Earle fans or whatever.
Right.
But they seem to like it, because I think they can sense that I know what I'm talking about, and they find it interesting. Yeah, they can sense the authenticity, and it's written really well too, though. I think that's the difference too. I mean, it's poetic. You're truly a really good writer. No, Thanks.
Seriously.
Thank you.
And where does that come from in terms of?
I think it's just luck.
Yeah.
Although one thing about it, I don't know if this is a factor. Both my grandmothers were one-room country school teachers.
Okay.
And my one grandma was obsessed with me learning phonics.
Yeah.
At 4 years old.
Yeah.
So maybe that helped. But I just read a lot, and my dad was a reader and kind of an amateur historian. He's kind of a Renaissance cowboy.
That's cool.
But I think it just comes from reading a lot and being interested in the world.
Yeah, just being interested. I mean, that's such a cool point to land on, I think. I mean,
they say to be interesting, you need to be interested.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like it seems
maybe
like
I just
people
said that,
who are, I like it. I think you should run with it. No, it really does seem like the folks who are really interested in something are the most interesting people, because they're not trying to be anything else or whatever.
Like, I think, you take a guy like Beck, right?
Yeah.
Who grew up in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And somehow was able to take what most people would consider bland and boring lifestyle and make art out of it, right?
Yeah, and turn into this really wild, crazy stuff.
Or Napoleon Dynamite or whatever. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think whoever you are, I think it's just important to do your thing.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot.
And it's been a long time since I help out when I can when I go home, but it's been a long time since I've done much cattle work,
Right, yeah.
So the more I sing about it, the less I have time to do it.
Yeah.
But we still have the place, and
cool.
We put cows on it sometimes. I'm resting it right. I bought 3/4 that were adjacent to our place this year, actually, because I didn't want some shithead to buy them and build condos.
Exactly.
On it. So I'm resting it. I think it's been hit pretty hard, so I'm resting it for a year or two. I think I have some neighbors that are really into rotational, savory kind of grazing.
Sure.
So I'm gonna try and restore it. That's my main goal, is to get it real healthy. Yeah, back to what it was. That's pretty cool. I haven't been up in that country, but I can imagine that it's gorgeous. It's pretty, probably similar to so now that the new show Yellowstone. Have you watched that? It's a lot
like that probably. Yeah. Which is interesting how it's seemingly starting to creep into mainstream culture too, the Western thing. Well, there's been a back and forth of that since 1900, right? Yeah. Dime store novels, all and everything. Yeah. Life imitating art, imitating life. Yeah, back and forth, flip-flopping. Because, it's weird, because every cowboy I know knows every word to Lonesome Dove, right? Yeah. And I think there's true. I've read a lot about that kind of thing, and apparently even as far back as the 20s and 30s when they first started making cowboy movies, the guys kind of
actually working guys sometimes would take cues from the movies and how they dress, and so it's kind of a back and forth
Back and
thing.
forth, yeah, and that's pretty interesting. Yeah, because you look at like Roy Rogers or something, and that's pretty flashy,
Yeah.
but then it starts to creep in and mellow out, and what's practical and what's not.
Well, there's a Garth played the Calgary Stampede. That's where near
Uh-huh.
I'm from years ago, and they interviewed a bunch of the local cowboy, country and western singers,
Sure.
me included, and they asked how Garth had influenced me, and I said he didn't really influence me too much because at that time I was more into Waylon and Christopherson,
Sure.
but I said he had a pretty big influence on my dad's shirts there for a while. So there you go.
Yeah, he definitely had. Everybody started wearing ropers too,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
flat-heeled boots and stuff. It's pretty
And turquoise and black shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
With cubes on them and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the thing. You can.
And the southwestern roundup scene across the chest.
Right,
Although
yeah.
that's kind of coming back. The southwestern. Dale,
It's definitely coming back.
Brisby's got the southwestern thing
Yeah,
coming back.
yeah. Do you watch Dale?
Yeah.
He's funny, man. Yeah.
We've hung out with him a few times.
Have you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was on his show once.
Were you? Cool. Did you ride a bull in a
No,
costume or something?
No. I played the tune with him. We sang Strawberry Roan together in Vegas last year.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that guy seems like fun. He'd be a fun one to have on. Well, let's talk a little bit about the new record, and then I'll probably just kind of jump around because I like all your records. But cool, you got to do some collaborations, like with Ian Tyson and Hayes again and stuff.
Oh, on the cover of your tracks.
Yeah, on the
record?
cover. Yeah, on the cover of your tracks record.
Yeah, that's a new one that just came out. It's an 8-song EP that's all cover songs from my youth. But yeah, Ian Tyson sang an AC/DC song with me, and Hayes and I sang Cover of the Rolling Stone together.
Yeah, that was really cool, and I love that Marty Robbins one. The way you did it,
They're hanging me.
The hanging me tonight.
We turned it into kind of a surf deal.
Yeah, no, it's
Chris
really
Isaac
cool.
surf vibe.
Yeah, because it's a beautiful record. Who produced that? Did you guys do it yourself or?
The same guy, John Evans.
Okay.
Same guy that did our new one. We just finished a brand new record that's coming out of our own stuff that comes out in 3 months.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm excited about that.
Cool. That's going to be really neat.
Yeah, the EP thing was fun. It was more of a lark.
Yeah.
Because it'd been about 4 years since we've had a record, so I changed a bunch of stuff. I got a new management team and new booking agents, and I'm all fired up. But so we put out that covers EP just sort of as kind of limber ourselves up.
Gotcha.
And we just finished recording our new record proper of our own stuff. So
cool. Well, yeah. So tell me about that one. I haven't heard that obviously because
it about killed me because I put more work into it than I ever had before. I wrote more songs and did more pre-production with the guys and jammed more and dug deeper into all the instrument sounds and stuff. So I'm pretty proud of it.
That's cool. So
I think it's called Agricultural Tragic.
Really?
I think that's what we're calling it.
Nice.
When it comes to fixing fences, riding bulls and drinking beer, but give me some young buckaroos kinda wet behind the ears, 'cause I'll take fire in the belly and it feels a little green. Sometimes piss and vinegar is exactly what you need, but I want old men making my whiskey. I want old men singing my blues, and I want old men teaching my horses. This is just some things young men can't do like the old boys do.
Wow, I like it. Like I said, with poetry and hopefully poignant then reflection on the tragedy of agriculture.
Yeah,
Is that the idea?
I got a song about having too many horses and a song about not having enough horses.
Oh man.
And a song about grizzly bears. And a song about I got one called Ranching, Riding, Romance. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
I like it. Well, I'm excited to hear that then.
Yeah, we'll play a bunch of it tonight.
Are you? Okay, cool.
sticking around?
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love
Cool.
to. Sure.
We're here at the historic Coupland Dancehall in Texas.
That's right. It is pretty neat.
Yeah, it's great.
How often do you get down to Texas? It's a little bit of a haul for you.
It is. We've played in Texas more than any other state, probably.
Yeah.
We've been playing here for years.
Yeah.
But a few times a year.
Cool.
We're at a disadvantage because all my buddies that live in Austin or even in Nashville, they can get on a bus on a Wednesday and hub out anywhere
Sure.
almost for the weekend and come back and just
Yeah.
rinse, lather, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
But for us to come down here, we got to get all of us down here. We got to stay for 4 or 5 weeks to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an undertaking. But
And
I mean,
book stuff on the way, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Usually, yeah.
this time we
Yeah.
came all the way down from. We started in Dakota and came down
Okay.
to Nebraska, and Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah. Make a little Midwest run.
Played for the Okies.
Yeah. It's always fun. Cool. So we got the new album coming out, and it'll probably be coming out right around the time that this podcast
Mid-April.
comes out. Mid-April?
Mid-April,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
You
That's
gonna be in
pretty-
Vegas this year?
I'd like to. I don't think I'm gonna be, but you go there every year, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. It's the most fun part of my year, and it's also the most, for me, everybody's there. It's
Yeah.
good. All the rodeo committee guys are there from all
Everybody
over the
comes
West,
together.
and it's the best exposure there is.
Yeah.
Plus, it's fun. Like, I go to a lot of music sort of events and conferences, and those are good exposure too and good networking, but they kind of can be a grind.
Sure.
But NFR is just a blast.
Just fun. You just go
Yeah.
out there and have fun and
like
see everybody.
The best networking is late at night drinking beer with people. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can do that.
Yeah, that's an easy way to do business. And it's cool. So you have a record label, but it seems like you have a pretty strong independent spirit, and your whole career, the way it's laid out. I mean, maybe you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting synergy between farm boy work ethic and punk rock DIY.
Yeah.
It's kind of the
Yeah.
same, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like my rock band, we're called the Smalls, but our whole thing was doing it yourself. Like we
Yeah.
booked our own tours and lined up our own interviews and made our own records and printed our own T-shirts. It was very do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know any other way. Like I know people that have got a record deal when they're 23 and that just things have gone great for them and they've never known anything different. But for every person that gets that, there's 999 that don't. And
Yeah.
and at that point, you can either just become a lawyer or something, or a
Right.
plumber or whatever,
Right.
or you can just do it yourself. And
Yeah.
there's a whole underbelly of the music scene that's not on the radio where it's all indie, do it yourself. And it's interesting because after all these years, you look at how the punk rock bands do it, and then you look how Chris Ledoux did it, and it's kind of the same.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, same with like these, young up and coming rappers or whatever. It's all the
Yeah.
same. You're out there doing it you're selling tapes out of your trunk or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I've got some industry help now.
Sure.
But, we've built our fan base we haven't ever had any. We had a little bit in Canada. But we haven't never had a ton of radio play or
Sure.
video play. It's all been just beating the bushes and playing live.
Yeah.
But the good thing about that is people are fully committed.
Yeah.
Like we don't have very many casual fans.
Fans, you have
if they're here,
diehard
they're
fans.
here because they
Yeah.
know every word.
Yeah.
And I think that, we've had a real. We've been playing in America for years and years and years, but in the last year and a half, 2 years, it's really picked up, especially in the West.
Good.
So yeah, I'm pretty stoked to get the new record out.
No, I'm excited about that too. Yeah, I've been listening to you for years, and I've been a fan that way. And I know you do Elko quite a bit too, right? I
Yeah.
opened for Waddy Mitchell once,
Did you?
and I talked with Waddy about you and stuff.
Yeah.
But what's that like? Because that's Western. I mean, you got I don't know, for folks who maybe don't know in terms of genre, like there's Western music, and there's country and Western music, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. But
No, you're talking about the Cowboy
Yeah,
Poetry
Cowboy-
Festival and
yes.
the Cowboy Poetry Gathering in Elko, Nevada.
yeah,
That's that's real Western stuff. And
Yeah.
we've played it probably 4 to 5 years for the last 12 or 15.
Yeah.
And like it's funny because I tailor my set at that deal because
Sure.
I can play a whole. We have 10 records, so I can play a whole hour of nothing but real cowboy stuff
Mm-hmm.
or Western stuff. So I don't play my goth girl songs there so much.
Right.
Sometimes,
Right,
sometimes
right. So just
if it's,
feel like
if
it.
it's late enough.
Yeah.
But mostly we play our Western stuff there, and it's like we've got our fingers in many different sort of genres or scenes because we play in the Texas scene. A lot of the Red Dirt bands are friends of ours, or friends with Hayes and the Turnpike guys, and I know all those guys.
Yeah.
But we also play a lot of the sort of folk festival type gigs too in Canada, and then we play a lot of rodeo gigs and fairs and
Yeah.
NFR stuff, but then we also have one foot in like the cowboy Western music sort of scene too.
Yeah.
So
But the cool thing about that is that you're able to do that because from my outside look or whatever, the reason you're able to do that is because that's who you are, right? And that's why it works. Because if you were trying to like strategize and get your foot and all these different things, what is it about you or your music that allows you to do that? That's an interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be in anybody else's brain, but I think I think the thing is just to do your thing and it will find its place, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I am kind of fortunate that we have factions of our audience that are working cowboys, and we have rodeo people, and we have horse show people, and we have military guys, and we have oil riggers. And part of it's because of what I write about.
Yeah.
But then we also have a lot of people who, like I said, people might go to a Lyle Lovett or a Steve Earle concert just because they like the songwriting, I guess.
Yeah,
but
sure. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
We're pretty versatile too, because we can play everything from like our career is really strange because we play some weird gigs. Like we end up every year or two we'll play a full on rock fest, and we'll be like the country band at the rock festival.
Interesting.
Which I'm comfortable. I like that role actually.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Kind of what Waylon did that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But then we'll do that all the way down to like me playing solo shows in a theater,
Sure.
playing Western stuff. So and everything in between. Like we play folk fests and country straight. We end up playing on a lot of like radio country festivals kind of thing, and then we do a lot of some cowboy stuff like Elko, and we did Monterey last year. Monterey Cowboy
nice.
Poetry.
How was that? That looked like a cool lineup.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
But it was kind of flawed because it was me and Paul Zarzinski, who's a cowboy poet, and Waddy Mitchell was there. But then they also had, I think, John Party and Midland.
Yeah, so you have these...
and I'm actually a Midland fan, but the problem was, I think probably what they wanted to do, because those cowboy poetry deals, they have a baked-in conflict because they always want to attract more people and younger people, but they also don't want to change the format too much.
Right.
So it's kind of a devil's bargain. That's where Colton Wall comes in, right?
Yeah, he can do both at
and
the
me
same
to an
time.
extent.
Yeah.
But I think what they're trying to do is get more young people, so they hired, the country bands. And what they should have done is have them on one stage and have the poets on another. But what happened was they mixed them all up. So I think they were thinking, oh well, the kids will come to see Midland, and they'll stick around for Waddy
or whatever.
But what happened was, like, doing an hour of poetry on a big stage is that's a tough gig, even when people are into it, right?
Yeah.
But like we played, it was Paul Zarzinski, and then I played for an hour with my band, full band. And then Waddy had a full hour in front of these drunk kids, and it was really painful because it wasn't his fault. He's doing a great job, but they just were not their scene, right?
Yeah.
And it was just poorly. I think they meant well, but it was just they should have had the poets in one place,
Yeah, because that's like the ultimate. To me, cowboy poetry is like playing solo as a performer can be hard or whatever to capture an audience,
especially poetry.
Yeah, but
God.
but poetry, there's nothing else there. It's like there's not even a guitar. There's nothing. It's incredible to me. Have you tried your hand at that or no?
I have a poem on the new song actually.
Yeah.
Or on the new
album. Cool.
Yeah. It's called The Tattoos Blues.
Oh, nice.
Get a character, Asian, mistakenly blazing a message that ain't what you think. They swore it meant knowledge, but really says olives, forever in permanent ink.
I like it already.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. So there you go. You're gonna get to try it out pretty soon on some drunk kids. Maybe they'll like that.
I'm making it work.
Yeah. Are you gonna work it into your set?
Likely. Oh, this is pretty dancey. We'll see how it goes. If they're all dancing, I won't do it. But
Right.
It's actually been killing live.
Nice.
The last week.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Yeah. I think I saw you at the Basement in Nashville quite a while ago.
The Little Basement?
Yeah, the Basement, not Basement East, but like the original one or whatever.
Solo show or band?
Yeah, solo show.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, it was like a showcase or something.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting to me to see all these completely urban people like in Nashville. Nashville's pretty hip. And really interested in Life's Better with Cows Around or whatever. Like that's interesting.
Well, I
to me.
feel like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like people in Nashville might kind of crave that type of thing because they kind of have that whiff of that around them, but most of them don't really know about it.
Yeah.
But they weren't like the thing that the most annoying thing that happens to me is somebody sees me in a hat and says, "Oh, you must be from Nashville." It's like I don't know what do you say to that. Nashville has nothing to do with hats.
No,
I'm from the West, right?
No, it's pretty funny because every time I've been in Nashville, they say I'm from Texas and they want to like fight me, which is pretty funny. So it's like, it's
the Texas Nashville dynamic is interesting.
Yeah,
because the Texans aren't real. They don't like it when their artists go to Nashville either.
Yeah, vice versa. It's pretty funny, but no, and Canada is interesting to me too because I might be wrong, but they do support their artists like the government does in a way,
a little
right?
bit,
A little bit, yeah. And in terms of the radio up there and stuff,
yeah, that's
is
right.
that true or
yeah,
not?
it's true. They have a thing where I think it's a certain percentage of the radio play has to be Canadian artists, which it sounds probably to an American sounds kind of protectionist, but the thing is, culturally, living next to America is like living next to an elephant.
Right.
You know, like
and
culturally,
here's a little,
yeah. I mean, I don't mind. It's the way it is. I'm sure it was the same for the Gauls when they lived beside the Romans, right?
Yeah.
Or the Portuguese when they lived beside the Spanish. But it's just the way it is. It's a huge cultural giant. So if it wasn't for that, we would just be overrun with your guys. And we love American music, but it's just you're just trying to carve out a little bit of space to give some oxygen to Canadian talent.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, it's good. And it's funny because Canada is like the States in that we have a number of different cultures, right? It's not one monoculture. And like we've got the French people in Quebec, and then there's the Maritimers out east.
Yeah.
And then there's the people from Ontario, the old power in Ottawa and Toronto.
Yeah.
And then the West Coast in BC. And then where I'm from is a lot like Montana and Wyoming.
Yeah.
Like Alberta's right
It's
above
like an
Montana.
extension almost, right? Like
Yeah. And culturally, like, well, my people came from Utah and Nevada, so I'm right at home there. But culturally, it's in some ways we have more in common with the American West than we do with the Canadian East.
Sure.
Not in other ways.
Just like America too, though. I mean, like there's the center of America or the west of America is very different than the coastlines.
Totally.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, people down here sometimes don't understand how I sing about all this Western stuff because they don't have a clue that we have cattle culture in Alberta. But those, the cattle drives after the Civil War, they eventually reach all the way up to Calgary.
Wow.
Right? We got one of the biggest rodeos going up there too.
Yeah, I mean that's the coolest thing in the world, right? The Stampede.
Yeah,
seems like
Calgary's a big one.
Yeah.
It's right up there with Cheyenne and Pendleton.
That's
stuff.
cool.
I read a lot about family history stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've got a pretty cool cast of characters. Like a lot of my family are still involved in rodeo.
Yeah.
And like my cousin's the head wrangler rep for Western Canada.
Really, that's cool.
My dad was a large animal vet. And also he was a pro bulldogger up in Canada.
Wow.
And had cows and also a Western artist.
Really cool.
Yeah. So
like
he's
a painter or
watercolors.
Watercolors. Yeah. That's neat.
So he was an interesting influence.
Yeah.
And he was really into history. So I think a lot of my interest in that kind of thing comes from him.
Sure. Yeah.
But we have some, we've got card cheats and bootleggers and all kinds of. My mom doesn't like talking about that stuff. I'm like, that's the best stuff.
That's a good, you can gold mine that, right?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, exactly.
I strip mine the hell out of it.
That's funny. So, when you sit down to write, do you start with that idea? Like, because a lot of stuff you write is pretty cinematic to me. So, do you have a whole outline, or you just kind of jump in?
No, I usually just get a line or two that eventually indicates sort of a story arc.
Yeah.
I never set out to do it, but I think I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
Because like Marty Robbins, Johnny Horton, that's my jam, right?
Yeah.
So most of my tunes, I mean, I write the odd love song, but most of my tunes are stories of one type or another.
Sure.
And I think I just automatically, it starts with a catchy line or phrase, and sometimes I don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
And I play with it and turn it different ways and look at it inside out, and eventually come up with a concept that's kind of a story. And a lot of my stories have some kind of punchline or twist at the end, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And I think I just do it naturally. I don't know. But it starts with a line or two. Like I wrote my names on a $5 bill. I didn't even know what that meant.
Right.
And I wasn't even going to use it on the record. I thought it was stupid. And
it just captures.
Played it for the guys, and they're like, no, you got to keep that. So
that's cool.
it's hard to know when it's you sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a real fine line between catchy and cornball.
Sure. Yeah, and knowing the differences.
Chev got stuck in the forward, got stuck at the very close to the line.
Yeah, very close to the line, but definitely catchy. Yeah, and a lot of people Every time I bring you up with folks, that's usually the first little inclination. And then talking about the guys, so has it been the same band for most?
For almost all of our career.
Wow.
A couple of early guys in the very, very beginning, but essentially the same guys, yeah.
Yeah.
Kurt Cecil plays bass for me. We've been together the longest.
Yeah.
And then Brady, the drummer. My dad was his dad's vet. He's 2 miles down the road in Tabor. He still farms, actually.
Neat.
And Grant is the newest guy. He's like 15, 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And he's from Winnipeg, and he plays everything.
Wow.
And they're all really talented.
Yeah, it's a hot band. Same band you record with as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been together so long, we kind of have ESP.
Yeah.
Like we don't use a set list anymore. I have baseball hand signals to tell them
Which songs
go
come.
next. So it seems like we have lists, but we don't.
Yeah. And so that's all on the fly. Do you have an idea in your head, like before you start playing a show, like tonight, you'll play more dancey stuff, or?
No? Oh well, no, I don't start thinking of that way. But
No.
But if it's happening, I'll because every night's totally different. I don't use a set list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if they're dancing, I'll keep playing that kind of thing. Or if they're
Yeah.
listening, if the people seem like they're really listening to the story stuff, I'll do more of that, or the more introspective stuff. It depends on the setting. Like if I'm playing a listening room, I'll play more mellower stuff that for the depth to it. But if I'm in this kind of setting, if people are dancing, I can do that all night too.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of having 10 records. It's like we can I think at any given time we can probably play about 65% of our material.
Wow.
So yeah, I can play 45 minutes of military history songs if I want
Right,
to.
if you want to. Yeah, so
or
cool.
or straight cowboy stuff,
Yeah.
or like more rockabilly shit. It depends on what the setting calls for. And it also on when you're touring for months at a time, you get bored, right?
Right, so you just want to change it.
Yeah, whatever. So it's pretty fun. It's a good way to. I got a good deal going.
Yeah. That's awesome to be able to like have a band that will follow you like that too. I mean, and that just comes with experience and time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
the Hurtin' Albertans.
The Hurtin' Albertans are amazing. No, that's cool. And so is that a big part of the fun for you, playing live versus writing, or is it all kind of
I like playing
equal?
live.
Yeah.
Writing is I sometimes like writing. Sometimes I hate it.
Yeah.
And recording is a challenge. I'm not. It's fun in a way, but I'm much more of a live guy.
Yeah.
A lot of people tour to support their records. I make records so I can tour.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
To me, that's why I'm in music. I'd like to try live theater sometime, actually. 'Cause
Yeah.
I went to acting school in New York a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
For a couple months, yeah.
That's cool.
But it's like the thing I like about the whole thing is the interaction and communication with the audience.
Sure. Yeah, that's the excitement.
That's kind of what the art is for me. Is building it, taking them on a trip,
yeah.
journey. Of ups
Yeah,
and downs.
emotionally or whatever through speaking. Yeah, that's really cool. Nice. Well, thanks for sitting down with me.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. Hopefully we'll get to do it again down the road.
Where are you from?
I'm from Colorado.
Where?
Yeah, near Durango.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
I love
so the
Colorado.
Rockies. Yeah, yeah.
We've played a lot there.
Yeah?
You seen us there?
I haven't seen you in Colorado, no. But
It's been a couple years since we've done a lot, but we used to do like 10, 12 dates in Colorado in a couple weeks.
did you? That's cool.
Fun.
No,
We did a tour called Corborado once.
Really? It's just all Colorado. Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's a little closer to you, I guess.
Yeah, Colorado's a lot. Colorado, Wyoming, Montana are much like Alberta.
Yeah.
In fact, Colorado even more so because there's a bit of affluence there.
Right, sure.
And we have a lot of tourism.
Yeah.
I think Colorado might be the most similar actually.
Yeah.
Because you got this rural-urban tension, and the flatlands on the east and the prairie, or the mountains in the west, and you've got like ranchers kind of competing with skiers for land.
Yep, no doubt. No, it's like
And some oil and gas too.
That's very similar. Yeah, it pretty much describes
Right?
my home, no doubt.
I tell people Alberta's it's like Colorado with healthcare.
Yeah, be nice to have.
Well, thanks for listening. That was a little bit of an abrupt ending just because the other band was starting to sound check and stuff, so I figured we should wrap her up. But anyways, what a great conversation with Corb. I really love sitting down with him and chatting, and I hope you liked it too. If you want to find out more about his music, you can visit his website. That's Corb, CORBLUND.com, corblund.com, that is. And the song that we played there in the middle was called Old Men, off of his brand new album, Agricultural Tragic. I highly recommend you go out and get that record. It's a really good one. As always, you can check out more of my music or find out more about me at my website, Tyler, Tyller music.com. You can also see some episodes from season 1 of this podcast there with folks like Charlie Daniels and Randy Rogers. You can also see this episode and more at Cowboys and Indians Magazine's website. That's cowboysindians.com. I want to thank them for supporting this, which has been really great for me. You can also check out old seasons of this podcast at their website as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can get an audio-only version on all of your favorite platforms. And if you're listening on iTunes or something like that, or Apple Podcasts, something like that, you can come watch a video companion on YouTube. Just search Tales from the Trail or go to my YouTube channel. Thanks for listening. I hope you tune in again, and we'll see you down the trail.